This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
If it's a mystery what happened in the last Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels, well, here's a clue.
All right, this week for our hypothetical discussion segment, we are discussing the latest exploits of Grand Admiral Thrawn from Timothy Zahn's Thrawn Treason. So, just a brief synopsis of the book. Thrawn and Krennic are competing for funding for their pet projects. For Thrawn, of course, that's the TIE Defender. And for Krennic, that's Project Stardust, which we all know as the Death Star. Isn't that funny how, they use such an opposite name,
right.
Stardust. I think of unicorns and happy sunshine and flowers, and then, the Death Star is what it really is.
But I think that's what it turns planets into.
It's stardust.
It turns them into planet dust.
Oh.
But anyway, hello, Scoundrels. Welcome back. Here's what is in store for this week's show. Part of the journey is the end. A major Star Wars title is coming to an end in the world of comics. We'll get to that and other stories in this week's news. D23 is now behind us. From Disney Plus to the theme parks and the Rise of Skywalker, there's plenty to discuss in this week's hypothetical segment. We'll end the show with community feedback and Silence Fools. Thanks for joining us once again. Let's get to it. This is episode 87 of Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels.
It's not a long time ago. It's not in a galaxy far, far away. It's right here, right now. Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels. The source for Star Wars news and discussions with your hosts, Dennis Keithly.
Truly, you have a dizzying intellect.
Jay Krebs.
Yeah, but it's custom. It's custom faded.
And Darth Taxus.
Why is it so big? Why is it so big?
Get ready for fast-flying, saber-swinging hot space opinions from your hosts, analysis, and other stuff, fun stuff. I'm not your host. I'm just a generic, unpaid announcer.
Thanks, Mario.
Welcome back, little bad Scoundrels. You've returned to the podcast that enjoys breaking things, like the news. I'm your co-host and general guide to the dark side,
Darth Taxus.
Coming to you from the hyperventilation treatment room of my flagship, the Assessor Collector. And with me are my co-hosts, who would take even standard ventilation, Dennis, the Phantom Menace Keithly, and Jay, the Hut Jair Krebs. Dennis and Jay?
I'm not even sure exactly how to respond to that, but hey,
Just breathe.
Scoundrels. Yes, just breathe. Exactly. Jay Krebs here. Good to be back. Good to be talking Star Wars again with you guys. I'm super, super excited about tonight. Dennis, how you doing?
I am doing well. It's good to be recording again, especially I've been with all this D23 news. It's come out, especially with the realm of Star Wars. I've been really eager to talk about it. So I'm excited to get into tonight's show. But before we do that, what have you all been up to in the realm of Star Wars lately?
Well, for me, the big thing probably is that I'm diving into a new book called The Psychology of Star Wars, Dark Side of the Mind. And it's edited by Travis Langley, and there's a lot of really, really great stuff in this book. And ironically, I ran across it in someone else's post on Instagram, just kind of randomly. And I thought, I'm going to pick that up. And I'm waiting for the new Lost Stars manga to come out. That's going to be released on September 3rd. Super excited about that one, too. And we just had a That's a Wizard released with a whole bunch of great new stuff. So super excited about that too. But yeah, that's it for me.
How about you, Taxus?
Well, Jay, is there a chapter in that book about staring mortality in your face and realizing the futility of everything? Because that's fueling my dark side tonight.
Actually, there is.
Oh, good. Yeah. Earmark it for me.
I'll just send you that book. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that the author of that, Travis Langley, he's done a lot of those type of psychology books of various pop culture franchises. I think he's done like Batman and some of the others as well. And they're fairly well regarded, if my memory serves. But as for me, I started Delilah S. Dawson's most recent book, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, Black Spire. This week, I'm almost done with it. I've only got about 10-15% of the book to go. It's a very interesting follow-up. My mini spoiler-free review here. It's an interesting follow-up to Phasma. It really kind of shows Delilah Dawson's range and her ability to write, because if you remember, Phasma kind of had those Mad Max elements to it, and this is much more of a spy type of a book and a recruitment type thing. It's got a very different feel to it, and I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I will say this, after having heard plenty of our friends on various other Star Wars podcasts gone to Galaxy's Edge, and then some of the Disney podcasts I listen to have trip reports of going to Galaxy's Edge, there's a few small parts that feel like I'm reading a trip report because they really do like hit up all the hot spots at Galaxy's Edge, Oga's Cantina to Doc Ondar's to Savi's junkyard, all those places you've heard about when you've heard people talking about the things that there are to do at Galaxy's Edge. Some of the food items are mentioned in it as well. Imagine if I hadn't heard as many trip reports like that, that wouldn't even have struck me as it did. But it's a fun book. I'm enjoying it quite a bit, and I'm not sure. Hopefully, at some time in the near future, we'll get a chance to discuss it on the show with a regular review. But I do recommend it. It's a good time. And then, Jay, I know you and I both have the Empire Strikes Back in concert just this weekend, but just in very different venues.
Yes.
So I'm getting really excited for that and ready for it.
Mm-hmm, me too. Colby Wan and I are going again, and I knew that you were going to bring that up, so I just waited for you to bring that up. So,
yeah.
Yes, but super, super, super looking forward to it. Yes.
I saw an armadillo.
Did you now?
Yeah, it was in my front yard.
Was it a first order armadillo?
I don't know what it was doing, but I tried scaring them off, and I think we know now why armadillos are often dead on the road, because my vehicle's attempts were just completely unheeded. So, I don't know. Little armadillo, if you're out there listening, just keep to yourself, okay? All right.
All right. Well, we got a lot of stuff to cover tonight, so why don't we head on over to the news? Well, there are a few other things in Star Wars news to get to before we turn to D23. So, Jay, what's up first?
All right. Well, Galaxy's Edge is now open on both coasts. As of the day of this recording, Galaxy's Edge at Disney's Hollywood Studios is now open to the public. The ceremonies were available for live streaming. Unlike Disneyland, no reservations were needed to visit the Orlando edition of the park on opening day, but a virtual queue was available to minimize the amount of time spent standing in line. Also, the playlist from Oga's Cantina is now available to stream on platforms such as Spotify. That's really super cool. And the opening ceremonies and dedication included a greeting from Hondo Ohnaka, of course, lip-syncing Jim Cummings.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know, that's so awesome. I love watching that whole thing.
Yeah, that was kind of funny because he'd be talking and like he'd turn around to say something to the guy behind him, and there would be like no drop off from what he was actually saying into the microphone. And so it was cool to see it happen, and but at the same time, I was like, okay, let's work on that part a little bit. But
just a little Disney magic, though. They'll get it worked out.
I gotta say, I don't know if you've been following any of the news from today, but today is the opening day. You heard those stories about how deserted Disneyland was this past summer with the opening of Galaxy's Edge? Mm-hmm. They aren't having that problem in Hollywood Studios. By something like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, they opened it early, but within like an hour or two of opening, there was already a 2.5 hour wait for Smuggler's Run.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so they even though they're doing the virtual queue, they're still letting plenty of people into that segment of the park. But for everything that I've seen indicates that the cast members there were doing their best with crowd control, and that it was running pretty well. So,
do you think that they were kind of like overcompensating for the fact that they did that in California, or do you think it's just what they had planned all along?
Well, a couple things. One, like you just mentioned in the read there, is that they didn't have that reservation system. So you had to be staying on property. Two, they don't have the volume of annual pass members that makes up their regular guests, and most of the annual pass members in Disneyland were blacked out for the summer and couldn't have gotten into Galaxy's Edge anyways. That's just started to lift. And three, they just you just came in and you were part of this virtual queue, and there was people that were lining up for this at like 3 o'clock in the morning. So
wow.
They had a lot of people that were traveling there. Disney World's attendance is based off of more vacationers than it is local pass holders. And so I think that had a lot to do with it as well. But did you hear the story about the Galaxy's Edge exclusive Coke and Sprite bottles?
Oh, yes. I saw that the TSA was banning the little thermal detonator style ones, but they're okaying lightsabers.
I think this is fake news.
You are fake news.
No, it's
I saw somebody say that it was completely wrong. I don't know.
Well, I just read the statement from the TSA.
Did I get refaked on the fake news?
Something like that. But but they were initially being blanket banned. You couldn't have them in your checked luggage, and you couldn't have them as in your carry-on. And now the TSA has released another statement later this afternoon that they are leaving it to the discretion of the individual TSA baggage handler, whoever's inspecting the bag. If they can't determine what exactly it is you've got, then they can get rid of them. But if you're
collecting they've been living under a rock, is what you're saying.
First of all, you're not supposed to be bringing liquids through TSA anyway at the checkpoint. So it needs to be in your luggage. And when it's going through that process, you're not going to be able to be there. If you really want to have these cans as a collectible, ship them home. That would be my advice, is that don't take that risk. Find some place to get them shipped.
Or move closer.
Yeah. But either one of you had an opportunity to hear the playlist from Oga's Cantina yet?
No, I have not. I didn't even know that it was streaming until I read this news article. So it was news to me as well, Scoundrels.
And I didn't know until I heard Jay read the news article. And then I didn't know that she didn't know until she knew because she read the news article.
Wow.
I'm glad I'm around to inform you guys of things.
You're not kidding.
I've been really busy.
I discovered this on my commute to work this morning. I was listening, while I was reading Galaxy's Edge, I was listening to I think it's the official Star Wars playlist on Spotify. And all of a sudden there was this weird take on the Cantina band music from A New Hope.
No,
no. It was actually
cover?
Really, well, not that one was, but it was actually pretty good.
Ugh.
But anyway, I recommend you check it out. That was a fun take on it. Because listening is like, I wasn't expecting that. But
at this point, it's sort of like hearing Crazy Train played 10 times at the local Battle of the Bands.
There's a show, I can't remember if it's on one of the Disney channels or Nickelodeon, called Infinity Train, and they are playing Crazy Train as some of the promo music for it. And one of my kids watches a couple shows from that channel, and so I hear that like a dozen times a day. Mm-hmm. I got a little tired of that one.
Yeah.
But well, let's move along. Taxus, what else do we have going on in the news?
Well, in a bold and controversial move that surprised many comic fans, except for me maybe, Marvel's Star Wars is coming to an end with issue number 75. The announcement was made from the solicits for November's comics. It is widely believed that a new Star Wars title will be announced to replace it in the coming weeks, possibly Star Wars Year 2.
Wars of Stars.
Mm-hmm. And I attribute this because I basically stopped buying the comics at about, issue 50.
Yeah, I
ran out of time to go to the shop,
Well, I get these mainly digitally at this point, and then I buy the trade paperbacks to collect them later. And gotta admit, I'm kind of annoyed by this news. I've been eager for them to just kind of move things along. They've been exploring that area between A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back since they launched the comic in 2015. And at this point, I feel like there's not really any room left to tell any stories during that time period. So they've kind of needed to move things to The Empire Strikes Back and beyond. And so I'm hoping that's what they do, that they either pick up the story when they reset this thing after The Empire Strikes Back, or maybe they relaunch the title in January or February and they pick up with tales of Poe, Finn, Rey, Rose, Chewbacca that take place after the Rise of Skywalker. Something. But they just kind of need to move past that era, because I don't know what else there is for them to really do. Or, Luke is starting to get to a point with his training with various people he's met around the galaxy that his time with Yoda seems almost superfluous. So anyway, but
maybe new Tales of the Old Republic. New.
That would be great too.
Yeah.
I'd be fine, but this leaves Dr. Aphra as the only ongoing series in Star Wars right now, and I love that series. But I just, I know part of this is motivated by their desire to get another Star Wars #1 out there, because Star Wars #1 in 2015 sold over 1 million copies, and so perhaps that's part of the aim. But I just get a little annoyed when comics do that after they kind of they get a new writer, or they decide they want to alter up the story a little bit, so they relaunch it with a #1, and it's kind of hard to keep all those things straight.
I know. Why can't people just keep their old numbering system?
You got me. All right. Well, let's finish up with one last story here. The themes for the 2020 edition of the Star Wars Rival Run Weekend at Walt Disney World have been announced. For the 5K, Darth Maul and Ahsoka take their emerging rivalry from Season 7 of the Clone Wars to the race. In the 10K, Leia revisits her confrontation with stormtroopers on the Tantive 4. The half marathon features Darth Vader and Yoda, and the Rival Run Challenge showcases TIE Fighters versus X-Wings. The kids' races look to R2-D2 and the Jawas, and Chewbacca is featured for the virtual half marathon. Head to RunDisney.com to learn more and register for the remaining races, which at this point I think is you have to sign up for the challenge. I don't think you can sign up for any of the individual races at this point.
I signed up for the kids' race.
Well, there you go.
I'm going to
win. But also for the first time, Ashley Eckstein is going to be participating in Rival Run Weekend, and she's putting together Team Tano. And there's an interview about that over on the Disney Run blog as well. So,
yeah, that was wasn't that the Lone Ranger's friend?
Yeah, it hurts to miss that one.
Yeah, no,
that's Tonto.
Oh.
Silly goose.
Okay.
But this makes me want to do this even more. And I so wish that I could. I mean, can you imagine running with Ashley Eckstein? I mean, that would be so great.
Yeah. Well, as soon as they haven't debuted the middles themselves yet, but as soon as I heard about that Ahsoka and Darth Maul middle, it's like, oh man, I wish I was doing that again.
It's probably a lot better than running from her.
Yeah, that's true. Ashley, if you're listening, you can totally recruit me for Team Tano, and you can pay my way to go and everything, and I'll go. I definitely
You'll accept the sponsorship?
I will definitely accept that sponsorship. You're not kidding.
Yeah.
You can at least be someone's spirit animal.
Yeah, I'm still doing the virtual half marathon, so I'll get that Chewbacca medal, which would be cool. But but yeah, it would have been fun to get down there for the others, and that'd also just be a fun weekend to do and like go see Galaxy's Edge or something. Yeah. But that'd be but I suspect there's gonna be a lot of Star Wars fans doing Galaxy's Edge then too.
Yeah. No, I'll be here with the firewater while you guys are running.
All righty then. Well, that's going to do it for this week's news. As usual, if you want to find out more about these stories and others, you can check the usual sources such as Jedi News, Fan the Tracks, Brews and Blasters, Coffee with Kenobi, TheForce.net, and StarWars.com.
Ashley, email me. It's all good.
Another D23 has come and gone, but the most recent D23 may have set a very high bar for Star Wars news. There are plenty of developments for future Star Wars projects to discuss, ranging from the small screen to the movies and the theme parks. And on this week's Hyperthetical discussion segment, we're going to try and cover it all.
No, we're going to do it.
Yeah, we got a big task ahead of us here because, wow, did they do a lot. Let's kind of start with the D20, the Disney Plus panel that they had. And they discussed a lot of stuff about Marvel, a lot of animated news and other movies that are coming to the channel. But of course, what's relevant to us is all the Star Wars announcements that were made. We do know that it is going to be home to the entire Star Wars collection at some point.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I know it launches with the first 6 seasons of Clone Wars and Rebels. Resistance will be coming later, but then it'll have, I think, all of the movies except I think it's Solo or at launch, but that'll be coming eventually as well. Well, they just kind of have to wait for some other streaming rights and things to expire before they can get it on the channel. But then it'll be there eventually, and then eventually the Rise of Skywalker will join it after its theatrical run as well.
Oh, okay.
But then we know that across the board for all of their original shows, they're going to debut them on a weekly basis as opposed to dropping them all so that you can binge them over the course of the weekend.
Thank Bogan.
Well, that answers my next question. Jay, how did you feel about that?
I actually like that because one, I do like to take things a little portion at a time, but two, I think it's also going to keep the spoilers from getting out there for those of us that maybe can't watch it all at once.
Yeah.
And you're not going to have to be quite so careful about what you're looking at on social media because I don't like to be spoiled, but I know someone else doesn't really care one way or another. So.
I will in this instance say this, okay? One of the things that I hate from all the binging that's happened, besides the detrimental psychological effect it's had on Earth society, although it's inevitable, this place is just going down the tubes. We miss the water cooler talk, don't we? And now, anytime you want to engage in something, you're like, hey, so are you watching that show? And they're like, yeah, I am. Okay, where are you at?
Yeah,
well,
how far are you?
I just got to this part. Oh, man. Or, oh, no, don't say anything else. I'm not to that part yet. You know what I mean? Now it's sort of like, okay, episodic. Now we know where everybody stands. Mm-hmm. You're right. The whole spoiler thing. So kudos to them for that. Plus, let's face it, it kind of keeps people interested in maintaining a subscription.
True.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I kind of like the fact that now we'll have an opportunity to watch, like you're saying, Taxus, watch an episode. We'll get a chance to discuss it. We'll get a chance to speculate what's going to happen next week or wonder what the cliffhanger was from this week, as opposed to, oh, there's a cliffhanger. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
It's within seconds. And so we'll have that weekly anticipation, which is going to be pretty cool.
That's right. It's like tantric TV.
Okay. So we'd have that part. And then, of course, the Clone Wars news could be kind of spinced up with pretty quickly. We got a lot about that at Star Wars Celebration, which we covered. But the announcement came at D23 that season 7 is going to debut on Disney Plus in February of 2020. So not as early as we'd all want, but this gives something like Resistance a chance to go ahead and finish before we dive into Clone Wars. So I can wait. I'll just be glad to have Clone Wars back with Disney Plus in November.
Yeah, I'm kind of actually, in a way, I mean, as much as I want to have Clone Wars back, you guys know how much I love Clone Wars. This is a good move. It's, I think, on the part of Disney Plus, because we're going to have so much other Disney content between The Mandalorian and then, of course, The Rise of Skywalker coming out in theaters and all of that. So I think it's, and for me, like I said, you can't just do everything all at once anyway. So it kind of portions things out just a little bit more. But how about that poster? How beautiful is that? Or the artwork, I guess I should say. I would love to have it as a poster. So Disney, if you're listening, sqpod@retrozap.com.
Well, Jay,
you're looking for the sponsors as well everywhere.
I'm working on the sponsorships tonight, boys. Tell you what.
What did you think of it, Taxus?
I'm looking forward to seeing Clone Wars, but it's not really. I don't know. It's not as exciting as the other stuff, so I'm not as I guess gripping my seat. Did I use that?
Well, what did you think
right?
of the poster?
oh yeah.
Wait,
that's
you're
a great
gripping
scene.
your seat? What are you doing?
I think it's my seat. No, I think that's pretty cool. I like that. I mean, it's good visuals. I mean, it's basically everything. I guess I don't know. They're gonna surprise me, obviously, but as far as the feel and the visuals and everything, I just kind of expected to see something like this.
Just feels like home.
There you go.
All right. Well, I like the poster. I like Ahsoka with the blue lightsabers. That's pretty cool. I like that they keep changing the color for her, and that it's we kind of learn with Luke. Just because you start with one doesn't mean that's what you're beholden to the entire time. So that's kind of cool. Mm-hmm. Then let's move on over to The Mandalorian. We got an official poster for The Mandalorian on Disney Plus, which is not all that different overall from what we've seen. I mean, it's got that Mandalorian logo with the Mandalorian walking towards us in the A in the middle of the word. Yeah. And then it's set over the Mandalorian on, I don't know, some world that looks like Tatooine, because it looks like there's some sandcrawlers in the background and some moisture evaporators. But he's got the suns in the background and the what's his name of his ship? The Razor Crest parked there. So that's a good looking poster. I like that quite a bit.
Yeah. You know, I mean, it's kind of weird seeing his image again in the little logo. It's sort of like a mini-Lorian, you know, like mini-me or something. But so let me ask you guys this: what do you feel about the Disney Plus logo on the bottom? I felt it was somewhat distracting from like the feel.
I mean, it is what it is.
They should have put that in Arabish.
Well,
or just put a D plus or something. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it's like Star Wars, The Mandalorian, brought to you by Disney. You know, I mean, yeah.
But
I don't have a problem with it. The whole point of the poster was to promote that it's on Disney Plus, as opposed to, you know, we got posters at Celebration that was not about the fact that it was on Disney Plus, and you know that just featured the silhouette, you know, the Mandalorian silhouetted against the background as he came through the doorway, which was cool. And I'm sure you can find some version of this poster at some point that won't have all the Disney Plus information on there. But you know, the whole idea was to promote Disney Plus, and that the show's going to be there on November 12th, and so it does its job.
Sure.
But so, anyways, let's keep moving there. We also learned that Ming-Na Wen is joining the cast, but we don't know what her role is yet. I really dig that. That's pretty cool.
We don't know when her role is at.
No, I meant what I said.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
But anyways, so she'll be joining the show. We of course know this debuts on November 12th with the launch of Disney Plus, and then they had their panel, which featured Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and then the cast: Pedro Pascal, Gina Carano, Carl Weathers, Giancarlo Esposito, and Taika Waititi, who apparently is doing the voice of IG-11, the IG droid. But then they debuted the teaser, which they made available online for everybody to see. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this wasn't the same thing that we saw at Celebration.
Nope.
I was wondering that because as I watched it, I thought, okay, you know, we saw this back in April, yada, yada, yada. But no, it's not. Okay, I'm not crazy then. I mean, I am, but not in this instance.
Because at Celebration, we saw what was like 10, 12 minutes of the first episode. Mm-hmm. And then we got to see, it wasn't even a teaser. It was just kind of a little sizzle thing about it that was like 2 minutes long that they played with that footage, because I remember Gina Carano's character was like wrestling with the Mandalorian, and they landed on the ground and pulled a gun on each other at the exact time. That wasn't in this trailer here, and so this was a new teaser, but we don't really have time to break down this whole thing like shot by shot because there are a lot of shots in this. But we'll go around the table and pick out one or two that stood out to us. Jay, you know, what stood out to you from the teaser?
Yeah, well, first of all, I need to commit the Razor Crest to memory because I cannot seem to remember the name of that ship. But at any rate, a few things. Definitely IG-11. I thought that was, oh my goodness, that's so great. And I did not realize that was who how do you pronounce his name?
Taika.
Thank you. I always get it backwards. It's like pig Latin for me for some reason. But you know, there's so many things to pick from in here. It's so hard to decide. We were talking about the carbonite, like the rows of carbonite with all of the unfortunate victims that were in that. That gave me the chills. Mm-hmm. And just the whole action sequences and the dude that gets chopped in half when the door closes. That was a big thing.
That's an assumption. We don't know that he's going to get chopped in half, but it does not look good for him.
It doesn't look good. Yeah, it's not very promising.
I like that. Jay's really stepping on all my stuff too. So
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Keep talking about chopping people in half.
But one thing that it's true. When I watched the Star Wars show this last week as well, is that they had some interviews with the cast of The Mandalorian. And just seeing this, it does look like a multi-million-dollar movie. Just the whole, you know, world building and the sets and just the beauty and the artwork and everything of it. I mean, the whole thing, I just think we're going to get lost in. Yeah. And so it's hard for me to just pick out, you know, one thing, but yeah, those were just a couple for me.
Taxus, what's a shot or two that stood out to you?
You know, I think it's kind of cool when they were it looks like they cut through this doorway. Maybe I couldn't tell. It looked like it was.
Oh yeah, they did. When the Mandalorian IG-11 like cut through the door. Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
It collapses.
Yeah, I like that. And then I like the vantage point of the holster. And the blaster. I mean, it's
very Western.
Yeah, very. I love that. And let's face it, and Dennis, I'm sorry if you're going to say this, but there's a weapon that's used later that kind of reminds me of when the gunfighter finally got to the Gatling gun. You know what I'm saying?
That was awesome. Did you have that toy growing up?
Heck yeah, I did. I still got that somewhere.
Yeah, it's not the exact same thing, but that's another version of that cannon that the stormtroopers ran into the Echo base on Hoth and were setting up to fire out the Millennium Falcon.
But I think this one looks a little more like what Kenner produced. Yeah.
It's because it's got that same scales with the toy had, and so I looked at that, and it was the little brackets on each side of the gun that tipped off about that. Yeah. But so that was kind of cool.
And other than that, of course, the Leicu. And I'm done.
Yeah, as soon as I saw the Twi'lek, I knew what you were going to be excited about. A couple other things real quick. I thought the opening was really cool. It looked like maybe it was on Tatooine, but you had all those stormtrooper helmets on pikes stuck in the ground, which was very ominous. This entire trailer had some really great music that helped establish underworld and Western theme that they had going on.
Oh, yeah.
And, there was the one shot of the character. It looks something like a Nugnaught. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but it was holding up a gun and it's riding on a creature. Well, that creature is a blurg. And we saw them, I think, most recently in the Liberty on Ryloth episode from the Clone Wars. And they originally debuted in one of those old Ewoks movies. But I thought that was kind of cool that they brought those
first
back.
I thought that was a Celestin, too, riding it. But you're right, huh?
Well, it could be. It's hard to tell.
I need my glasses.
And then there's a shot of the it looks like Death Troopers, so they're bringing those back. And and then we hit IG-11, and there's a couple of shots of the Mandalorian and the cantina when he was meeting with Werner Herzog's character, and the stormtroopers were all there, and they all kind of got into that standoff where they pulled guns on each other, which was cool as well. But I'm really excited for the show, and this did nothing to dampen down my excitement.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
There's still people, though, out there, a lot actually, that I've talked to about this that are still wondering, is this about Boba Fett or Jango Fett? So I still think that there's this huge, kind of, how do I want to say it? It's they associate it with every Mandalorian has got to be a Fett. You know what I mean? And it's been kind of difficult to explain. Yes, I've had a Boba fetish for a very long time. But it is kind of hard to explain. No, this is not, it's more just, it's difficult because I work with a couple guys, teachers that we talk Star Wars a lot. And so I've had to kind of no, this is not what this is. And so have you guys run into that at all? I don't know.
Not really.
I'm babbling. I'm sorry.
All the time since the 8th grade.
Most of the people that I talk to with Star Wars are online, and you guys. So, the people, typically people that are in the know, and the few others that are local are big enough Star Wars fans that they've been following the development of the series and they know as well. And I don't think it's, once they get into the show, I think that'll wipe out the confusion pretty quickly, based on what we saw at Celebration. So, but yeah, I think we've kind of covered this trailer. Just a few other details. Some of the costumes were on display at D23. And did you guys see Pedro Pascal's outfit?
Yeah.
Just what he was wearing for the interviews.
So great.
Looked like they plucked him right out of the 70s.
I know.
That was something.
Very loud print.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's move along then. Next up, we have the Cassian Andor series, and which we also know is featuring K2SO. We didn't really learn a whole lot new about that show. They did have Diego Luna and Alan Tudyk show up, and it was kind of funny when Kathleen Kennedy was setting up her introduction. They just kind of barged out on stage, but they were having a good time. I watched that clip earlier today, and Kathleen would not let them announce the title of the show yet. even though they really wanted to. But Alan Tudyk suggested K2 Fast and K2 Furious, a Cassian Andor story. So just
How funny.
demonstrating his usual sense of humor. But
Those two are so ornery together. You can tell. Like Kathleen, she reminds me of me in my classroom with some of my squirrely teenage boys that I have in class. And you know that they're just so ornery, but they have so much fun with it. But it was hilarious because they're, can we say it? Can we say it? You know, they were just like little boys and it was cracking me up. So
yeah, but they were clearly excited to be doing it.
Well,
definitely.
you know, let's not forget Tudyk was sitting right next to somebody when Spoilergate happened. So,
yeah.
you know,
During
yeah.
Rogue One. Mhm,
yeah, I'll never forget his face. That
Yeah.
So
so
was
great.
it London? Wasn't that London?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Over Europe? Yeah.
And yeah, that was
I didn't
That
see
was
France,
something.
but somebody showed their
Oops.
underpants.
Oops.
Yeah.
poor guy.
I
All
know.
right. But yeah, and unfortunately, there's not much more to say about Cassian at this point because that's about all we got. But then perhaps the best announcement was saved till last.
Yes.
And you know, I love how Kathleen Kennedy introduced this. She said, you know, after secrets and fibs and not being able to talk about it,
Rumors.
I'm thrilled to bring out a beloved member of the Star Wars family. And then that Ewan McGregor comes marching out on stage and they put that huge image of Obi-Wan Kenobi on the screen behind them. And then, you know, once the applause and shrieking finally died down, Ewan turns to Kathleen Kennedy and says, you know, Kathleen, can you ask me in front of all these people, all of these witnesses, can you please ask me, am I going to play Obi-Wan Kenobi again? I just loved how this whole thing played out because then she goes, Ewan, and he goes, yes, like he hadn't just asked her to ask
Yeah,
that question. And so she says, are you going to play Obi-Wan Kenobi again? And so he turns to the crowd with a twinkle in his eye and says, yes. That was just perfect. I know the three of us were texting each other when that happened.
Uh-huh.
How many times have you watched that announcement online?
I can't even count. Like all my fingers and all my toes. I don't have enough, honestly. And I think I probably watched it at least 20 times just that night. And you could just tell the way that he said, yes. It's like the weight of that whole secrecy and everything. And it's almost like he was finally, you know, like I can finally say this. Although I do say, and somebody tweeted this, that he missed the perfect opportunity to say, hello there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, the emotions! Like,
Or he could have really trolled us
feel.
and said, perhaps.
From a certain point of view.
Yeah, I watched it again today because I wanted to try to transcribe exactly how that went down. And I just got goosebumps watching it again today after it's had
man.
most of a week to set in. So,
And then I cried.
but you know, it's one of those things that we've been hesitant to just talk about the rumors on this show because we prefer to wait till something's official. And so fortunately, last week when all the rumors were coming out that this was a sure thing, as the rumors were saying, you know, we didn't really have an opportunity to comment on it because we were doing that so Wizard. And, you know, this week we really get to finally talk about this because, you know, it was just, what was it, last year, the year before when we were talking, there was talk of the Obi-Wan Kenobi, a Star Wars story movie coming out. And that was supposed to be a done deal. You know, it was going to be directed by Stephen Daldry, and that never came to be. So, you know, even in the presence, you know, this is something else the three of us were texting about of these really strong rumors. It's like, I just want to wait until I get the official confirmation because I kind of feel like we got burned on this before.
Right. And I just think that the entire collective fandom was just saying, finally, you know, we've been wanting this, we've been waiting for this. And it's just so wonderful. And as I understand it, it's supposed to be 8 years after Revenge of the Sith.
That's what I've heard as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, Taxus, what if there's one thing you could see in this Obi-Wan Kenobi series, what would it be? What would you want to see?
I don't know, a little love action with Obi-Wan. Oh yeah.
Really? Okay.
I don't know. I mean, you get lonely in the desert.
How about you, Jay?
Ooh, teacher. Yes. There's a few things actually I've already got on my wish list. One is for Obi-Wan to go back to Shmi's grave and just plead with her and just tell her how sorry he was. And I just, oh man, that's and I
dark.
want to see him. I know, and I want to see him in his hut, just kind of like mending his robe, because he's all by himself, and I don't know. I just want to know more about how he spent his time and watching him looking over Luke.
Maybe picking up a new hobby.
I don't know.
Well,
there's so much.
I've heard discussion that this is going to be like potentially as few as 4 1-hour episodes. That it's not going to be, a dozen episodes or anything like that. And it's not definitely not going to be ongoing. As for me, I'm hoping we get a good story that maybe touches on some of these things that you're talking about, Jay. But I do want to see that lightsaber come out. I want to see him use it, whether he's, dealing with a crate dragon, whether he has to deal with some Tusken Raiders, other ne'er-do-wells there on Tatooine, perhaps having to drive off someone who stumbles upon the Lars homestead and has some idea of who Luke might be, and he somehow has to figure out how to dissuade this person from turning him in. I'm hoping for a real good story with some intrigue, and I wouldn't particularly mind if he found some reason just to get off Tatooine for a day.
Yeah.
To pursue an adventure. I don't need him confined there. Yeah, I also wouldn't be particularly disappointed if somehow dealing with Jabba came up in the course of this as well. But, we know a lot. There's a lot of great things we've seen in Star Wars that kind of gives us clues about things. But, he was on Tatooine, during the Boonta Eve Classic. So maybe that comes up again. He boldly proclaims to Luke that, Mos Eisley Spaceport, you'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. So maybe we get to find out something about, his adventure there that cemented that with him.
He was going to have a drink because Obi-Wan always finds a way to have a drink.
That's true.
Right. So why do I feel like this is going to kind of become like Kung Fu? You know what I mean?
It could.
Series.
I mean,
yeah.
One of the things is if we hadn't had
cool.
this trailer for The Mandalorian and some of the stuff we saw in Solo, I would be expecting much more of a Western type vibe for this movie. And they still may, or the series, I should say, but they still may go that way. But I wonder if they really want to replicate that, if that's what they're doing with The Mandalorian. But I guess we'll find out. So,
well, do you think that they'll pull any of the John Jackson Miller novel? I mean, do you think that that's going to be any type of source material for this at all? Because I know it's Legends, but we've pulled a lot of other things from Legends.
Sure.
If you think there's a chance,
not stories so much.
or even characters.
Perhaps one of the Tuskens, maybe. But I can't. I kind of doubt that we're going to see that story. With Solo, when that was coming out, we all dove into Brian Daley's series and read that, and there's plenty of source material that they could have pulled for that movie, and they went completely different direction than what we'd seen before. So I don't expect John Jackson Miller's book to get become the source material for this. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe there was some theming that seems similar, but I wouldn't expect that story to show up here.
Mm-hmm.
That's my guess.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
All right. Well, I hate to leave Kenobi behind, but we got lots of other stuff to still talk about. So
goodbye there.
Let's head over to the parks.
Goodbye there.
And we've got more details on the Star Wars Hotel that is coming to Disney's Hollywood Studios. Bob Chapek, who's the Experiences and Products Chairman, unveiled the details of the under construction Star Wars Hotel. It is called the Halcyon, and they are treating it almost exactly like you would a cruise. And by that, I mean, when you go on a cruise, you show up, you board with everybody at a particular time, the cruise leaves, and then you come back and you all get off the ship, right? Whereas, typical hotels, like people check in and out all the time. That's not what they're going to do here. It is like a cruise experience that, it's a 2-night adventure. Everyone shows up at the same time and your adventure ends at the same time. And it includes part of a day at the 2, where apparently the story from the Halcyon will follow you into the parks. There's going to be plenty of things to do. They've shown, they got to see a picture of what the starship is supposed to look like. We know they're going to have some sort of, end quote, real working lightsabers, end quote, for people to use, and the part of your adventure will take place on the bridge and in the engineering room. It sounds intriguing, but what do you guys think about this?
A 2-cycle tour. It just, I don't know. It seems so, to me, extravagant. I mean, this would be the ultimate, I think. I mean, we've been talking about Galaxy's Edge and we've been talking about how immersive it is, but this is truly the most immersive. It's like a lock-in, you know, and you're there and you can't leave, and which is both great and almost terrifying at the same time in some ways, which I can't explain, but it just, it does. It looks like an amazing experience, and wow. It's pretty luxurious looking. That's all I can say.
Yeah, this is sort of like Fantasy Island, kind of, you know, the beginning, you know, when we're all walking. Yeah, Halcyon. I could have sworn I've heard that name somewhere before or something, but anyway, irregardless, it actually means denoting a period of time in the past that was idyllically happy and peaceful. Isn't that interesting?
Well,
seeing how I've never experienced anything like that, so.
Halcyon.
Yes, I was going to say, go ahead.
Yeah, that was the name of some of the characters and legends.
Wasn't there a Jedi?
Yeah, Neja Halcyon was a human male Corellian Jedi master, and they wore green robes. And then
there's
Corin
Kieran
Horn.
too, or one of those. Like Kieran was one.
Yeah, and then Corin Horn was his descendant. So, yeah, that was a name that came up. The Halcyon is a name that's been used in Star Wars and various other places as well. And I think there was even a planet that was used that had that name somewhere, but I can't remember.
And aren't they a battery?
Let's see.
Isn't there a Halcyon battery?
I don't know.
Oh.
It could be.
Okay.
But I got to be honest, I was really excited by this whole idea of the Star Wars Hotel when the announcement first came out. My concern about it is that this is not, you said extravagant, and I think that is an understatement about this. And it seems like something that would be a lot of fun, but 2 nights. And part of it is you spend the day in Batuu. So you're really, well, when do you get to check in for this thing? Is it noon? Or is it like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon? Let's assume like it's most hotels and it's 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, so you get half a day then, you get a full day the next day, which includes time in Batuu, and then you check out the following morning. So I'm just kind of concerned about if you're going to get your money's worth out of this experience. And so I hate to be the naysayer when we know even with these announcements, we know so little about this. But I'm really going to need to know more, and I'm going to have to hear some people talk about this and experience it before I sign up.
They said they're going to have real working lightsabers. So
yeah, that's what I said. In quote and close quote.
That's right.
Okay, we'll see what happens with that. But I know that they're taking great pains. So like if you look out any window, you're seeing space. My understanding is that you'll like take a shuttle up to the ship as it's not like you just walk in and do it and all of a sudden you're inside a starship. So that I like the way this sounds, but just and maybe after, essentially what amounts to a day and a half on your 2-night experience, you'll be done. You'll be ready to be done with the hotel and that story. But I just to me, it just seems like that price tag is going to buy you several nights that you could spend at Walt Disney World and like go to Galaxy's Edge every day if you wanted to, and build your own lightsaber and take home your own droid and everything else. So,
and by done you mean when you're leaving, somebody's like, "Hey, could I interest you in helping for a good?" No, thank you. No.
Well, I'm assuming they won't let you dress up either, will they? Because you're not allowed to be in costume at the park. So if it's going to be part of.
But see, when this concept originally came up at the last D23, they talked about when you're there in the hotel, you would have the opportunity to get into character and to dress up if you wanted to.
You should be.
Yeah.
So who knows? Who knows? But so that's what we got on the Star Wars Hotel. Well, now let's switch gears and head over to the Rise of Skywalker. So that was featured prominently at a panel. First things first, we got the new promo poster, which looks like it has Rey fighting Kylo on some sort of piece of junk or part of a starship with their lightsabers ignited. It's a very dark background, and we get the silhouette of Palpatine in the back. In my opinion, pretty cool poster. What did you two think?
Mm-hmm. Well, the first thing that stood out to me, and I said to you guys, is, Kylo has the high ground.
Yeah.
I like it, man. I really like it.
Well, of course, you have the red and blue.
Yeah, you do.
As usual, yeah.
Starfield.
It's a teaser poster. It's not the final movie poster, but the number one thing that I liked about it is it wasn't this like Photoshop all the characters' heads
Yes.
in like a pyramid shape. And, to be fair, we got, for The Last Jedi, we got the shot of like, Rey holding up the lightsaber with Luke on one side and Kylo on the other. So this is kind of fits into that theme. But I'm just, I know when we get close to the Rise of Skywalker, we're going to get one of those posters that's got all the characters crammed together. And nothing against those, but that design's kind of been done to death now. You see it for every Marvel movie, you see it for every Star Wars movie. It's just all over the industry.
And everybody's going to be complaining about which way they're looking. So,
Yeah. And you guys are going to laugh at me too, because I was, of course, when this came out, I'm just staring at it, trying to look at all the little, is there something hidden in this? Is there anything, like image wise? And you're going to hate me, but all I could think of was it looks like Palpatine is like, did you ever put your head over a bowl of Vicks Vapor Rub when you were sick? You know what I mean? Like a hot bowl of water, and you're like trying to clear out your sinuses.
Oh, funny.
It looks like he's breathing in the blue, at least, of the.
I thought there for a second you were going to steal Taxus's joke about the cat on a sailboat, but
no, actually, it's funny that you mentioned a cat, because when I first thought it looked like Mustafa from Lion King.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, kind of angle it downward, and it looks like his mane and, everything, A
little bit.
But one of the things I like about this poster is it actually kind of, it's reminiscent to me of just vaguely, of the Revenge of the Jedi poster. Remember those first runs? It was kind of action-y.
A little bit.
It was like,
I would have
Luke
to go
there.
back and look.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. I mean, it's different, but it just kind of feels, it's like just the overarching evil in the background with, Luke there. I don't know. It's all alone. It's.
Yeah. Well, other stuff that they had with the Rise of Skywalker at D23, and we'll get to the biggest part here in just a second, but they had that exhibit of the Stormtrooper armor that they started over at San Diego Comic-Con. They brought it over to D23, but they added the Jet Trooper to the display this time.
Yeah.
Hey, guys. I'm Jet.
Yeah, okay.
Jet Trooper.
But what did you think? It's not terribly different than a regular Stormtrooper.
No, but didn't they say that the jetpack is part of the actual armor, that it's not removable? I thought I saw that somewhere, but perhaps not.
It could be. I haven't really read up on it. I just saw the picture.
Mm-hmm. It looks pretty cool. I mean, hey, why not? It makes sense to have one.
Where do you think they stuck the jets?
I don't want to know.
Huh. I wish we could see it from behind. It does look a little more aerodynamic, though.
Yeah. And I like the helmet. Kind of reminded me of the Range Trooper from Solo Star Wars Story.
Yeah.
And it kind of a cross between that and the Flame Trooper from The Force Awakens. So, but hey, yeah, it follows the design. I liked it.
Looks cool.
But let's get to the biggest part of the Rise of Skywalker, and that was the D23 special look teaser. There was a sizzle reel that was also shown, but that's not been made available to the public. If you look around on Twitter hard enough, you can find some people who recorded it when they weren't supposed to. And so you can see a few bits of it there. At one point, Rey is telling Finn, it's dangerous, I need to go alone, or something to that effect. But other than that, I didn't see anything that was noteworthy. But this teaser, this special look trailer, teaser, whatever you want to call it, the first minute of it is images from the rest of the saga, from the prequels, the original trilogy, and The Force Awakens, and The Last Jedi. And it features the dialogue we heard in the original teaser for The Rise of Skywalker of Luke saying, what is it? We've passed on all we know, 1,000 generations live in you now, but this is your fight. And as he's concluding that sentence, we get that scene of Rey fighting Kylo from The Force Awakens, and she opens her eyes, and then, coming this December. And then we start to get to the new scenes for the teaser. And so we can just, there's not as many of them, as there was in the Mandalorian trailer. So we'll kind of go through these one at a time. But it starts off with Rey, Poe, Finn, Chewbacca, and the droids finding the Aki on the planet of Pisana, which I don't know, it was pretty cool. They almost was a little surprised when they kind of came over the rise and looked down and saw them. But anything from that scene stand out to you too?
I mean, it just looks like they're having some sort of festival or celebration or something of that effect. Like there's some sort of maybe effigy or something in the center. Mm-hmm. Not quite sure what that's all about, but looks like they've come upon something. Yes.
Hmm. Yeah, crashing the party. I don't know. It all happened so fast for me.
All right.
Who are the Aki?
They were played by
people.
Jordanians when they were filming over there in Jordan, and so they're just kind of the people that live on this planet, as best I can tell.
The indigenous persons.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Next, we got a shot of Leia looking on with the jungle in the background, so I'm assuming that's a different planet. So that was the repurposed footage from The Force Awakens, which is followed by a shot of Rebel ships coming out of hyperspace. And what's noteworthy here is that in The Last Jedi, we saw X-Wings and A-Wings, but this time around we have X-Wings, A-Wings, B-Wings, and Y-Wings, plus a Corellian Corvette and some other unidentified ship on the right-hand side of the shot. But it looks like the Resistance has kind of recovered a bit with respect to their fleet. I don't know if you all saw the timeline when they put up, they had a big timeline for all the stuff that was going on in Star Wars, and they'd marked it off, with the Age of Republic, the Age of Rebellion, the Age of Resistance, and then, so they had the prequel movies set in the Age of Rebellion, and then the Age of, the Age of Republic, and the Age of Rebellion, they had the original trilogy, and then they had, Rogue One right there. They kind of set the Clone Wars back in the Age of Republic, and so they were kind of marking all this stuff out. But, it kind of looked like if they ticked off all the years, it looked like there was about 2 years between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. So they've had some time, and we know, like for instance, the Black Spire book takes place a few months after The Last Jedi. So they've had an opportunity to some recruitment building up, but I still have no idea what that ship is on the right. I couldn't match that to anything I know.
Or Moncal or whatever.
Yeah, except for when you kind of, I put a small image in the notes, but when you kind of get a bigger shape of it, it's, you're not looking at its side. It's kind of coming in at an angle, and so it doesn't quite have the right profile for a Mon Cala ship. But
could it be the Ghost?
I was just going to say that.
But it's got those big pod type things on the side.
Side, yeah. I was looking at the
so I don't know. Yeah. The Ghost would be cool though. Cool. So I guess we're gonna have to wonder a little bit longer on that one. The next thing we get is a huge fleet of Star Destroyers. And they aren't First Order Star Destroyers. These are Imperial Star Destroyers. I was very surprised to see that. And I don't know if you all had any thoughts, but I'm wondering if these were like derelict ships that they come across. Yeah. What did you all think?
Well, that's what it reminded me of some kind of like a ghost graveyard of, you see with ships and boats and that kind of thing. They're just kind of eerily floating there. They don't really look like they're functional.
Yeah, it looks, at least doesn't look like they're on.
That's what I mean. And they're like, it's eerie.
But they're all, because you get two shots of one kind of from underneath, and then you get one kind of looking down from just above the plane on them. And they're very dark. They're all like kind of lined up, like maybe they've been parked there in orbit around something. So
I wonder if these are the escapees from.
Well, is it we're getting into speculation. We don't have a ton of time for speculation here, but that was a thought that I had, Taxus, and the other one was, was this a fleet that was under construction somewhere, and then when the Empire fell, when the Battle of Endor was happening, everyone got pulled away from it, and so they've sat here abandoned for all this time. And now maybe Rey and Finn and Poe, that's their mission, is to find these ships. Yeah. And maybe so they can use them in the war against the First Order. I don't know. It's either that or suddenly we have the First Order, the Empire, and the Resistance in here. We're in a heck of a battle.
Yeah.
Trifecta.
But moving on, there's a shot of Finn and Jaina in the cockpit of a ship. I can't tell which one, looking up at that. Then, I know this one stuck out to you, Jay. There's a
Finn's
shot of C-3PO. It seems like he's like rising out of a chair or off of a bench or something, and his eyes are glowing red.
Just like me every morning. I'm telling you.
All I could think is like, oh my gosh, did he go assassin droid on us? You know, like 000, or wasn't there a 3PX or something like that in one of the comics and something
From
like
Legends,
that too?
yeah, there was a 3PX from the Legends comics, but the
oh man,
but I was thinking 000 as well because 000 has red eyes.
right.
And he
Yes,
also commenced
totally.
to get up and eating everything that he could find in the refrigerator.
Order the double cheese and sausage.
Well, I was trying to figure out where he's sitting. You know, where is he? Is he been reprogrammed? Is it that they're trying to extract maybe information from him? You know,
Well,
what's
it's a perfect
going on?
shot because there's absolutely not enough information for us to tell.
Yes.
Yeah,
And so also we can-
one of my friends said, this makes sense why he might have been pictured holding the bowcaster in the poster.
on that leaked package art.
Yeah, or
that-
something. Yeah, the package art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, after that, that's followed up by a scene of a red laser impacting the train on some planet and doing a ton of damage.
I think those are from his eyes.
Yeah, Bill from the Dork Lair made that joke on our Discord channel.
Oh, good job, Bill.
Which is funny.
Sorry.
Yeah, or on Twitter, I can't remember where he did that, but it was pretty funny. He's like, "Wow, 3PO's eye blast is really powerful."
Yeah, right. Mega 3PO. He's 3PO.
Well, just from the train and what we've seen so far, is this maybe Zori Bliss's planet, perhaps? Because it looks sort of snowy.
Well, it kind of looks like the train kind of looks like the background of that shot of Pisana that we had earlier.
So you're thinking it's more... See, because I looked at it and thought it was snow, and you think it's sand.
Possibly. It's a dark setting, so it's a little hard to tell.
It is hard
Whatever
to tell.
it is, it's getting everywhere.
And
I hate it.
and it's rough and it's coarse.
That's right.
And then
It's irritating.
and Anakin's rolling over in his grave.
And where is this? Yeah, where is this coming from? That's the big question.
Yeah, it's okay. So there's a couple possibilities. It could be blasts from one of those Star Destroyers that we were just talking about, or we've seen wreckage of a Death Star. Does that get reactivated? Or do we have another of those juggernauts that showed up in The Last Jedi that shows up and is firing on this planet?
So remind me, is the blast coming? We actually see it hit, right?
Yeah.
Twice, actually,
okay.
because it's that's the thing. It's not one like laser fire. It's
not
two
green either, so
successively, right?
Yeah, it's not a big green blast like what the Death Star does. So
What the rebellion was secretly building.
all right. Well, we'll discuss that one, I'm sure, plenty going forward. But the next shot is Rey throwing her lightsaber at a training droid.
Yeah, that was cool.
And then she calls it back to her Force style with the Force. And she did not look particularly happy. Here's the thing. I hesitate to say this because Daisy Ridley makes a expression that is intense. And a lot of times people interpret as like angry and like turning to the dark side, which will be relevant in a second. But she had that very intense, almost angry expression on her face when she kind of calls the lightsaber back into her hand. But did you all have any other speculation or thoughts on what, other than the fact that she threw her lightsaber through a tree
I
there?
think she was just frustrated, and I think that this is actually in conjunction with the shot of Carrie. I almost wonder if Carrie's watching her, because the look on Leia's face in this is just like, oh yeah. I've seen somebody else that acted like that too, kind of a thing. It's almost like a smirk that's on Leia's face. But I'm wondering what the red piece of cloth is, though.
Yeah, that's something that's tied around her hand. That was hard to tell.
Taxus, what about you? What do you think?
I just prefer to save trees instead of destroying them.
All right.
Well, is this Endor, or is this where do you guys think this is happening?
No, it looks outdoors.
It could be indoor. It's again, we don't have nearly enough information to tell. It could be, it could be Batuu. With the way we know that planet is featuring prominently into the future Star Wars, and I would not be surprised to see some of this movie take place there. But because these characters feature in that park, And I would, that would be, so I wouldn't be real surprised if they made this a tie-in to what's going on there, but we'll see.
My brain just goes to, because we're getting the second Death Star, you know what I mean? And so obviously it was above Endor. So, and we talked about that a little bit at Celebration, I believe, too.
Yep. All right. Well, let's, so the next scene we see Kylo, he's stalking away from his landed TIE fighter, and he's igniting his lightsaber as he walks kind of forward and off screen. We hear the Emperor then do a voiceover. It says, "Your journey," as the scene fades to Rey and Kylo fighting aboard what looks like a piece of wreckage in the ocean. I'm kind of blending these scenes together because it's important. And then we hear the Emperor say, "Nears its end." And we get a shot of Rey with a double-bladed red lightsaber. She's decked out in black with a hood over her head.
Yeah, it's the Jack Saber.
Yeah, jaw-dropping, to say the least.
Yeah, for sure. There's so much feel to this. It's just, at first, you're like you said, your jaw just drops open and you think, what does this mean?
Mm-hmm.
But then, of course, the first thing I thought of was Luke's failure at the cave on Dagobah.
Yeah.
Could it be that? Could it be, and I hate to use the word, fantasy of Kylo Ren's, that he's seeing something like this, but there was something that was released on StarWars.com that was kind of recapping this, and they used the word vision as we see a vision of Rey. And then it was quickly changed to say the sight of Rey. So, of course, now there's all this speculation that, was this actually just kind of a play on words and someone just used the word vision to mean sight? Or is it truly a vision and somebody messed this up? So,
yeah,
I love the lightsaber, though.
Yeah, I mean, there's
like the temple guard.
So, yeah, exactly. There's so many possibilities for what's going on with Rey. I mean, it could be a vision. It could be, my mind immediately went to the cave on Dagobah, that some sort of, she's near some sort of dark side locust, kind of like Luke was on Dagobah. And so he, there's some sort of a test, and, he ends up fighting Vader, Luke did on Dagobah, and sliced off the helmet just to see himself underneath because, he gave in. So perhaps, we've had these type of scenes with Rey in the previous movies as well.
Mm-hmm.
When she got to Maz Kanata's castle, she touched Luke's lightsaber and kind of had that bizarre vision of all these things that had happened with Luke's Jedi Academy and Kylo Ren and being abandoned on Jakku. And then in The Last Jedi, she gets sucked down into that cave on Octo, and she has those images of countless images of herself all lined up, and she does that snap thing. She gets up to the mirror and wants to see her parents, and they combine into a single image of her. So seeing another image of Rey would be completely in line with what's happened in the previous two movies. So I think that's a real possibility. Another one that I've seen kind of going around is this a clone?
Yes. And that, when you said that with all the Reys lined up in the cave when she snaps, that's one that I've seen speculated that I thought, that she could be any number of clones. And that's actually when she saw that vision, she was actually seeing replicas of herself. And this really was something that was happening. There's like a whole batch of Reys out there somewhere. And then she was the one malfunctioning one that actually was good. So that's why she had to go to Jakku. I mean, there's so many crazy things out there. But then again, you think about it, you think, maybe that does make sense. It's insane. Taxus, what are your thoughts on all this?
I heard that. I heard it's like the Emperor coming back as a pretty little girl. And so...
not necessarily the Emperor, just that there was like a whole batch of like assassin Reys. You know what I mean?
Or simply could have been that there was a number of attempts to clone her, and, maybe a bunch of them never developed force powers, or the midichlorians didn't take. And so we get one with Rey, one that turned out to be Rey, and another that turned out to be this dark side force user that looks like Rey.
So if they were a bunch of clones, do you think they were raised together?
Raised together?
Well, we could speculate on Rey all night long, but, one other thing I just wanted to note that, in that scene of Kylo and Rey fighting, which is really cool, they're really going at it. To me, I'm wondering if that isn't wreckage of the Death Star. There is a shot of a tower off to the left that looks like the cannons from the trench that were near the trench run on the Death Star in A New Hope, which kind of seemed like a clue to me. But but that's my speculation, is that that's parts of the Death Star that crashed on whatever planet that they're on.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty like a common thing that a lot of people are saying. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that'll do it for that teaser. And really, that's going to do it for what we learned at D23. I mean, I know Lucasfilm had a pavilion set up there, and there were some other things to see and vendors and merchandise, but we don't really have time to get into that. But did you either one of you have any final thoughts about this stuff from D23?
The trailer just leaves me with so many feels. And of course, Kenobi. Wow. There's just so much. And I'm loving the fact that we have so much Star Wars to talk about all the time. And, you know, it's almost in some ways overwhelming, which I guess is a good problem to have. But
yeah. Taxus?
I like the blending of D and 2 and 3 together. But this stuff was awesome too.
All right.
Lots going on.
But, you know, for me, it was watching this stuff come out over the course of the weekend, especially Friday when they had the D23, the Disney Plus panel, and we got to see the announcement about Kenobi and the trailer for The Mandalorian. And then on Saturday, or Sunday, I think it was, after they did the Rise of Skywalker, or no, that was Saturday, they did the Rise of Skywalker special look. And then when that got released on Monday, you know, I'm always a Star Wars fan, and I'm always excited, but, you know, you get certain events over the course of the year that just completely reinvigorate you as a fan. Yeah. And so, you know, that happened a lot at Celebration when we got the teaser for the Rise of Skywalker there. And then this week, you know, getting the special, get to see that special look on Monday, and, you know, showing it to my kids and watching them get excited. And then, you know, I've watched it several times, you know, it really excited me again for Star Wars. And Galaxy's Edge is out. I haven't had the opportunity to go there. I've been kind of avoiding a lot of footage because it's just all over the place now. And I want to, again, as we talked about on previous episodes, I want to maintain some of the surprise when I get to go there and experience it myself. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I've watched Attack of the Clones. I've watched Return of the Jedi. I've just been like playing random Star Wars movies all week long. And it's just been fun having this to, you know, to make me like, oh, I should go watch, you know, this reminded me of something that happened in whatever movie it was, so I'll go watch that. And just, it's got all that Star Wars creativity and anticipation going again. So, you know, December can't get here fast enough for The Rise of Skywalker and, of course, The Mandalorian in November. But, yeah, this is fun. I you know, someday I hope to go to D23 and get to experience this type of thing myself. But, you know, it was really cool that Disney and Lucasfilm gave us the opportunity to see all this stuff at home as well, and still preserved the first look and an exclusive period of time for the people that were in attendance.
Right.
So
I agree.
All right. Well, that will do it for our hypothetical section, looking at D23 Scoundrels. You know, make sure you send us your thoughts about what we saw, and we'll give you all of our contact information in our closing segment.
It's time for
Silence, Fools!
So, after the D23 special look at The Rise of Skywalker, I posted the following poll on our Twitter page. And the question was, what is your favorite part of the new Rise of Skywalker teaser? And I put this out fast, so I didn't really give a whole lot of consideration to the options.
Yeah.
And so I listed them as the Star Destroyer fleet, Rey versus Kylo, Darkside Rey, and other. Before I get into the results, how would you two have voted on that?
Out of these, I probably would have voted for Darkside Rey. Mm-hmm. But of course, you know, 3PO was a big one for me, and Leia.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Taxus?
I too would have voted for Darkside Rey and other.
Yeah, you know, it was the it's hard to vote against Darkside Rey, but so that makes the results of the poll very surprising. Coming in third place was Rey versus Kylo with 23%. Darkside Rey came in second with 33%. And the Star Destroyer fleet won with 36% of the vote, leaving 8% for other. I gotta say, I was really surprised by that. I thought for sure Darkside Rey was going to run away with this by like 70 or 80% of the vote. But we did get a number of people that responded on Twitter, and I know, Jay, you have some responses on Instagram as well. But our friend Rural Farm Boy responded with a simple "all of it." Black Series Rebels posted an image of the Rebel fleet coming out of hyperspace, which was also very cool. I probably should have included that. Hassan Scarborough, also known as Fetmatic, loyal listener, posted the Roy and Kylo duel will be epic. The Blue Milk Cafe had the shot of Rey throwing the saber through the tree. I love this handle. The Potato Squad said all of it was nice, but seeing Carrie again really made the trailer for me, made me cry. So kind of what you were saying there, Jay.
Yeah.
This is another good handle. Journey to the Life Debt at Celebration. I can't decide. the response was fine, but just the
that is great. I feel you.
So Igor, the hero of Tython, shared the image of the Star Destroyer fleet. Mikey Stonebridge says the fleet was legit. It looks like we get that all-out battle I've been waiting for fleet-wise since Return of the Jedi / the beginning of Revenge of the Sith. I would point out that there was a really good fleet battle in Rogue One, but that's a possibility. I'm hoping there's a huge fleet battle in the Rise of Skywalker.
What if they were all droid controlled, like central brain thing? I don't know.
That'd be interesting too. Jay, your bestie, Pam, retweeted this and said, "It's not just Darkside Rey; it's everything about Rey in that trailer. She's doing it all, and the montage from the prior films made me tear up. I'm so excited for this film." Yeah. But and then you had some responses over on Instagram.
Yes, I did, and I have to say, Rural Farm Boy probably said it as all of it.
Yeah,
I'm a former farmer, so all of it. That's how you say that. All right, so from Instagram at AF Chris 77 or Air Force Chris said the Star Destroyer fleet reminded me of Solo. Darkside Rey was incredible. I'm kind of bummed about Rose not being in the teaser or sizzle reel, but I'm glad she was there on stage. So.
To that extent, do you think that there's something surprising that we're gonna find out about Rose, which is why she hasn't been in either of the teasers so far?
Oh, good point.
Because she's not part of that team that's on Pisana either.
Darkside.
You're right.
So I don't know, were her injuries more extensive and we're going to see her with some cybernetics or something, or what's happening with Rose?
Ooh, perhaps that would be interesting.
But I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, you're good. No, I'm glad that you interjected with that. All right, so Darth Invisible simply said Rey versus Ren! ! And then our friend Hector Rios at Mr. HR or Mr. H. Rios Jr., sorry, Hector, said, Vader's breathing. It could be nothing or everything. That brief snippet kicked my speculation into high gear. Yeah. Cannot wait until December to see how it plays out.
Good point, Hector.
Especially the placing of where the breathing was in the trailer itself.
Yeah, the reveal.
It's usually through the nose.
But
or mouth.
But so thanks to everyone that voted in our poll. That was great. We hadn't done more of those for a while. We keep threatening to, but then I never get around to doing it. So do appreciate the responses. But also on Twitter, Regal Robot responded to That's a Wizard. They said, thanks at SQ Pod for the shout out about our Space Slug desk organizer. Thanks for sharing what we make. And yes, Gimmerstick is the name for Yoda's cane. First read that on a Topps card in 1980. So
I knew it.
So that was cool because we had talked quite a bit about that camera stick and the Exogorth desk organizer that and that edition of That's a Wizard. So that was pretty cool.
Yes.
All right. Well, that is what we have this week for Silence Fools. Thanks for everyone getting in touch, and we hope to hear from more of you on the next edition of Silence Fools. So we've reached the end of another episode. Scoundrel Nation, thank you for listening and for your support. Jay, where can our listeners find us around the internet?
All of our episodes can be found on RetroZap.com and are available wherever you listen to podcasts. Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels can be followed on Twitter and Instagram at SCubedPod and liked on Facebook, where we are facebook.com/SCubedPod. If you want to follow Darth Taxus on Twitter, he is at Darth Taxus. Dennis is at DJKVER2, and I am at Joyce Krebs. Don't forget about our page on the RetroZap Discord server. We'll be there talking about novels, comics, and everything Star Wars. You can find links to that in our show notes and on our social media. You can reach us by email at scubedpod@retrozap.com. We would love to hear your thoughts on the news from D23, but we welcome discussion and feedback of any kind. Emails, really good tweets, and iTunes reviews end up in Silence Fools. Again, our email address is scubedpod@retrozap.com.
Also available on RetroZap.com are other great shows, including The Superhero Suite featuring Jay and Josh, other Star Wars shows such as Kanata's Castle, Beltway Banthas, and Brews and Blasters, collecting shows like The Dork Lair, and other great shows like the Animaniacast, the Argcast, the Deucecast Movie Show, the Dunecast, Warp Trails, Techno Retro Dads, previously on Lost, and We Know Nothing. Also go to TeePublic and get our shirts. They're shirts, get them. News breaking.
Thanks to Aaron Lay for our show logos, and to James Volpe, the Sky Geek, for the good, the bad, and the ugly show logo. And thanks to Mario and the Scoundrel players for lending us their voice talents.
And here is our disclaimer. Starship, Sabers, and Scoundrels is not endorsed, affiliated with, or sponsored by Lucasfilm Limited and or Disney. This show is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. All characters' music and sounds are the intellectual property of their respective copyright holders. All else is the intellectual property of Starship, Sabers, and Scoundrels unless otherwise indicated.
Well, before we wrap this up, any final thoughts?
Yeah, with all the excitement, I think we need to remind the listeners of some basic safety measures. Sort of a scoundrel PSA. So, what do you do if there's debris from an exploding space station falling on you?
Stand in a doorway?
Duck and cover?
And just realizing that I stepped on my own joke earlier in this show. No, you go indoor.
Alrighty then. Well, that will do it for episode 87 of Starship, Sabers, and Scoundrels. Thanks for listening. Until next time, may the Force be with you.